Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 show to bring you all things Club America and English.
Oh, what a strike! Club America!
Your hosts for today are Ivan Pineda, Cristian Rosendo, Alexis Juarez, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Go! Now let's hit the field and start the show.
America!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be recapping the Clasico Nacional draw at the Estadio Azteca. We're going to be looking ahead into the future, into tomorrow's matchup away at Hidalgo, as America will be facing off against Pachuca. And, of course, we have the Clasico Capitolino to round things up at the end before the international break. And as always, joining me, it is New York Fair resident Cristian Rosendo and Brooklyn's very own AJ. Gentlemen, how are we tonight?
Doing good, Ivan. Doing good. I hope you and AJ are doing well. I hope the listeners are doing well. A little disappointed we didn't come away with the W in that Clasico, but we'll be sure to talk about it and much more and what went wrong for America. But hopefully we can get back on the right track in these next two games before the break.
Definitely. AJ, how are you, my friend?
I'm tired, honestly. Worked out, deadlifted for the first time, which was actually a pretty exciting experience. I mean, at least it got, clear my head of the draw that happened. But all in all, I'm ready to talk all things Club America tonight.
We're going to have to make kind of like a Patreon account for our listeners, and AJ is just going to do kind of like the Apple Plus Fitness thing, where he's just going to be giving our listeners kind of exercise advices on what to do on each single set of the day. I think that would be really cool. But glad to hear that, AJ. Glad to hear that we're ready to go. Gentlemen, we're going to jump right into the Clásico Nacional draw, the disappointment that was. We'll look ahead into the future for America. Also, I would like to acknowledge, and I would like to rub it in everyone's face, the transfer window is officially closed for America, which means that we officially did not bring in anyone. So anyone who doubted me when I said this a month and two ago, please stand up and walk out, because I told you guys.
Walk out.
I told you guys that we were not gonna get anyone, and there are still people out here being like, Cristian, you were one of them. Like, no, don't worry, we're gonna get something done. We're gonna do something. And look, by my count, transfer window is officially over, and America is still yet to bring in a reinforcement. Although
I feel like the whole Renato Ibarra thing kind of changed everything. Would you agree or no?
I do think so, but then he gets injured, and you still have plenty of time to get things done.
True.
So,
true, 100%.
We'll talk about that a little bit later on, because there is one name that I have seen surface in the America Twitterverse that I would just like to maybe thrown out there. I don't think there's a heavy rumor of him being linked to America, but he is the type of player that I think America would go for in the January transfer window. But again, we'll get into that a little bit later, gentlemen. Let's get into what was America versus Chivas, the Clásico Nacional. A tie that feels like a loss, but a point that made us the only team in first place, is the way Chris is putting it out. And actually, yeah, it's a good way to kind of sum up the game. Again, wasn't the best result, wasn't what we wanted, but at the same time, it's a clean sheet. We get a point, and we're still league leaders. Now, I know, Cristian, that's not enough, especially being American, especially in the kind of, momentum we were building prior to this Toluca game that happened before the Clásico Nacional. Things were looking on the up and up for America. We were clearly the favorites walking into this one, yet it felt like we fell flat on our faces and nothing actually happened. What went wrong for America, Cristian?
I think just the lack of intensity, honestly. You kind of see in the first 20 minutes, we just we weren't playing like America. We were very slow in our decision making. Our passing was atrocious. No one was moving. No one was creating. And just a combination of all of that, and then you throw on Chivas' kind of, I guess, unorthodox style of play in the first couple of minutes, because them having a new coach, kind of trying to do something different, throw America off guard, which was working for a little bit, because they kind of had a couple of interesting looks going forward on counterattacks, and all that just kind of, I guess, in my opinion, flustered America just a bit, enough to throw them off their game of the original game plan. We were talking about it earlier before we went live, Ivan. No one in America had a good game. I guess from our point of view, is maybe for me only maybe Jorge Sanchez. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's just a shame that you have so many players. You have Henry Martin, Roger Martinez, Fidalgo, Richard Sanchez, and none of these players could have that spark for America. And these are four players that I think should always possess that quality and always at any given moment, especially during a Clasico, I'll kind of bring that out, right? And you saw none of them, do anything, and it was annoying. It was frustrating, but it's time to build on this because we just can't keep continuing playing like this.
Yeah, and look, I make the argument after this Pachuca game, we'll be way more into halfway through the season than we would expect it to be. Look, AJ, AP Junior put in it very lightly. America was dragging ass out there on Saturday. I mean, from your point of view, from your perspective, what did you think went wrong?
We just didn't show up to that game. It just felt like it was just another game where, from the league, that was just felt like it just was not Chivas. I don't know. Like, I feel like we had a tug where just like the hype for the Clasico died down while we were hyping this game up. That game just really didn't reflect what we were just talking about. Really, just America just did not bring their A game into this match against Chivas. With the line that you had up front, you really think something can happen. We definitely will score goals. Almost no one appeared in that game except for Jorge Sanchez and Chava Reyes, to be honest.
Yeah, and look,
I feel like that we're bringing their A game into this. Modo Ochoa just seems like we didn't just have our shooting boots on in that match, and I felt like at times I feel like we were even respecting Chivas. Chivas looked deadly at times, especially during like the opening minutes. They had so many chances that honestly, it could have been a 3-0 for them if I'm going to be saying the truth. We dragged like ass. We just didn't appear in this match, and all disappointing result for America.
Yeah, look, I think Chris brings up a very interesting point. Our center backs were, pretty terrible. George, for the most part, was maybe the reason we didn't get scored on. Chavez Reyes as well. Linus played for way too long and should have never started, something that Christian will attest to in just a minute. But again, it doesn't seem like this was the America that we hyped up before prior to this game, right? I think AJ mentioned it perfectly, Christian. This felt like another league game. It didn't feel like a Clasico for these players.
Yeah.
And you saw that lack of intensity that you mentioned, right? That unorthodox play that Chivas kind of tried to utilize in the opening minutes kind of threw us off. And that's where the 2-3 chances that AJ mentioned that they could have gotten themselves a goal. I will argue though that maybe we had the better chances at the end of the game, aside from the one that Alexis Vegas skies rockets over, which I still don't know how he did that. But I for the most part, it was a very much stalemate match that just did not feel like a Clasico.
Yeah. I guess just the moment, I guess, of the two teams in the sense, America coming off, kind of a loss that pummeled them a little bit, right? And then Chivas just with the way they've been playing, brand new coach, obviously you really didn't expect too much from them. But you're right though, besides the little scuffles that were out there, that was probably the most Clasico passion we've seen in a while, from any of the teams, right? Obviously, we're not really we're not condoning the fighting, right? But just I guess it was fun to see the passion come out a little bit between the two sides. But in terms of the actual gameplay, you're right, Ivan. It was a little stale. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just now you have to sit back and think what could America done better. We'll bring up a couple of points here. Chris brought up one point. Linus should have never started. I think I kind of agree with him. Number two, should have Cordova started. I know he came in, didn't really do much. But that just him just coming in cold, or maybe if you had him over Linus in the first half, maybe could have been something different. It's all what ifs, right? But these are things that you kind of have to bring in mind, like, could this made a difference?
Look, I'll make the argument. I think you put Cordova in this game, and it's still the same outcome. Like I don't think he comes in and steps up and does anything that no one particularly did. I know the commentators like praising him for some reason when he came in. Like he didn't really change the face of America's attack. Like let's be honest. If he did, Henry would have had more chances being distributed by Cordova. The only real true chances Henry got were from Chava Reyes. And to be honest, it was from when he was in an attacking position, like you mentioned, Christian, right? Yeah. You wanted him in that left wing position. He gets the left back spot, but in those kind of runs that he overlaps Mauro Lainez and then puts himself in those promising positions, you see some things happen. And so I would make the argument that I think a Chava Reyes in the left mid position would have done much more than a Cordoba being in that game. And yes,
Isn't
I know
that
you're
what
pointing to yourself, and I get it. I get it. I do. I trust me. I do. And I think Linus is looking at his position as, I don't think that's my spot after this game anymore. Because you're right. He cost us almost 2 goals. I mean, the pass back that he did to give back to Alexis Sanchez and get the counter going was beyond fathom. I could not understand, how does a professional player do something like that in the caliber of game? I'm gonna go out there and say it. It looks like he was nervous. It looked like he wasn't up for the task, and it's really the reality of it. Look, last
You're
time we
talking
played a
about Linus, right?
Clasico, there wasn't that many people. There wasn't that much pressure on you, and so now
Right.
you had 60 something thousand people in the Estadio Azteca. Which, by the way, it's always amazing to see the Azteca almost get full and to
Yeah,
that capacity. So it was nice to see the fans play their part.
of
But
course.
yeah, no, Linus, by far one of the worst players. And still, to answer your question, I don't think Cordoba comes in and changes the game at all. But I don't know if
Okay.
AJ has anything else to say.
I don't even know what to say. I'm just lost for words because I can't believe for a whole 90 minutes, from my point of view, it was a snooze fest of a Clasico. It's probably one of the most boring Clásicos I think I've seen in quite some time. Honestly, you expect goals. I mean, we got the fight, but just where was the passion at, though?
And I think it's one of those things, when those things are highlighted more than the actual goals, that is the issue, right? That goes to show you that it wasn't the Clasico that many of us intended it for it to be.
And you brought up 60K people. You really brought in 60K. Some we have not pulled off in quite some time for a 0-0 stalemate. That's sad. It's the only thing that still boggles my mind. I just tell them, like, I feel sorry.
But look, I'll make the argument that America proposed to open the game up, and then Christian, you mentioned this in the second half alongside with me. It seemed like Chivas were just playing to get that draw. They were sitting back there saying, "Look, we're going to invite the pressure. We're going to soak it up. I'm going to try to relieve on the counter." You go back and look. I don't have the heat map in front of me, but I would make the argument that Chivas was sitting back deep for a majority of this match. Now, it's no excuse to America. We should be more than capable of breaking this defense down. But you mentioned it, Christian. There was no Fidalgo breaking the lines. There was no real Henry, magic that we see him. Yeah, he was hustling and doing the usual, but there was, maybe I remember 1 or 2 good runs from him. That's about it. A Linus that just seemed to be scared to take anyone on, really. And a Roger Martinez that, again, is just falling so flat that he is just nowhere near the Roger we want him to be. So that front line attacking was just in shambles,
Awful.
really.
Yeah, awful. Just say it how it is. They were awful.
Yeah.
But obviously it just wasn't them. But like you mentioned, out Fidalgo awful, Richard Sanchez awful, Pedro Aquino was awful at the beginning, but kind of got a little bit better throughout the game, but still wasn't to expectations. You can go to the whole lineup. Bruno and Emma, they were kind of clueless at some points. You look at those counter attacks, and you only saw one of them there. And some of the plays, they just weren't communicating. Chava Reyes in the first 20 minutes, I literally want to kill him because he was making mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. And you saw how nervous the kid was. I don't care how any of you guys will defend him. Chava Reyes was his worst game ever. And it was a bad game to pick because now you kind of drew that image on most fans. And now saying, hey, listen, can you not live up to the pressure? These are the games you have to show why you were the best left back in the league last year. And in those first 20 to 30 minutes, he was god awful. Like I said earlier, I think only Jorge Sanchez was the only one that I think can kind of slide away from this. We'll save him. But even then, though, there were a couple of questionable things he did here and there. But for the most part, though, everyone terrible game. This needs to be cleaned up fast because we have 2 very good games coming up. 2 games that we have to win to kind of get us going because we have the international break, and you always want to leave on a good note.
And look, this is the interesting thing about this season. We knew that once we turned the corner after Chivas, it was just game after game after game after game. Everything was going to get stacked upon us. There was no quote-unquote easy matches after the Clásico Nacional. You're talking Pachuca away at Hidalgo, a place where we always seem to struggle. You're talking about Pumas, the Clásico, another Clásico. Regardless of how they're coming into this one, you know that things are played differently when it's a Clásico. And then you're looking at the rest of the couple of matches. I mean, you still have to go. You still have to play against Cruz Azul. You still have to play against Tigres. You still have to play up against Monterrey. Like, these bigger matches are coming up, and they're right around the corner. And not to mention that we also have a CONCACAF Champions League final to consider in about 3-4 weeks time. So it's a really short turn of events, and this international break, it's either gonna make or break us at this point. So you're right, Christian. You gotta sweep it up, and you gotta go and start picking up the slack from these last two games against Pachuca and top it off against Pumas. But you're right. I would make the argument that Chava Reyes, though, even though he had, like you mentioned, his worst game in an America jersey, still looked better than the Mauro Linus, right? Still looked
Of
better
course.
than
Yeah.
a couple of players out there on that pitch. And so it goes to show you that this kid is talented. Yes, the game got to him, but again, you know that these type of things happen, and this is a perfect way to mold him, right? I don't think it's gonna happen again. I think that he picks up the slack from here on out. Look, he almost had a perfectly placed pass for Henry Martin. If that reception would have been better, we're talking about about maybe the goal that wins the match. We're hailing and we're praising Henry, and we're
Yeah.
giving flowers to Chava Reyes because of
Of
the
course.
amazing perfect time pass. It's just these things in football, sometimes they don't kind of go through. It is what it is. But again, I'd make the argument. I think our worst player on the pitch on the night was probably Mauro Linus. And
Yeah,
so
no. AJ, I don't know if you want to add on to this, but Mauro Linus just it's not the guy that you praised at the, at the beginning of the season to kind of have that season. This is the guy you backed. What do you think went wrong for Mauro Linus this game?
I think like Jumet just seemed completely nervous. Didn't really step up to play like every other player in America in that match. Just their presence was just unknown. The players you've been seeing throughout the entire season, when it comes to the most important match of the season for them, regarding even the playoffs, this is the game you're looking forward to for the season for Jamaica to come up against the rivals and show that they're the bigger team, which they clearly are at the very end of the day. But get bragging rights, but then just Linus, know what's going on. That loan option, ooh, we're probably looking at Schultz like, hey, you can have him back. Thank you. And
well, we'll see. Look, he's got a couple more games to kind of right his wrongs, right? And
it's only one game. It's not gonna summarize like how he's been throughout. Even though people question why he came,
but we know how the Americanismo is, right? We're so latched onto one game that we're ready to fire anyone who isn't up to the standards in that one match. I get it. That's fine. That's our culture. I'm not trying to change it or anything. I'm just saying we are how we are. Look, Jacob Leao saying good thing Solari put George because I don't think Layun would have caught Alexis Vegas in the counterattacks of the Mauro Linus.
He would have gotten smoked. He would have gotten smoked.
I think it goes to what Christian was saying. I think our best player on the night was George Sanchez. Look, I'm not even going to mention Ochoa because I don't think he even gets any type of work, really. I mean, he gets a couple of shots here and there to his body. I think his performance is nullified by the fact that Chivas didn't really knock at the door the way that maybe some people would try to paint it in the lighting that, oh, Chivas had their chances. Like, yeah, they had one really good chance that they skyrocketed. But to be honest, this was probably one of the most quiet nights for Ochoa as well, And it's not to say that our defense was doing their job. It was just Chivas were poor in the sense of going forward. And after a couple minutes, they decided that they just wanted to hold back and give America the ball. So it is what it is in that department. I think that Aguilera was completely shaky. Bruno Valdez, not even mention him. Defensively, we were just terrible. Absolutely terrible. And yet Chivas wasn't able to capitalize on that. Going forward, again, so bad. So bad. And it frustrates me because you look at a player like Fidalgo, who I think is maybe having a little bit of a of a sophomore slump. Even though he has 2 goals this season, I feel like he just hasn't been his creative self, Christian.
Yeah, no. It's I don't know. I can't explain it. You want him to do good, right? Obviously, because he's an America player, and obviously he is a player that Solari does seem to kind of enjoy having on the pitch. It's just in games like this, this is the game where you prove to be an America player, right? And for some of these guys, it's just you can have a question mark around them, saying, "Listen, are you really made for this?" Right? So, like everything else, in the grand scheme of everything, you gotta sit back and look what happened and move on. Obviously, we wanted to win. Obviously, it's not what we wanted, but you have a game tomorrow. You have a game tomorrow, and you have another Clasico on Sunday that you need to prepare for. And it's just about, looking at what happens Saturday, building off of that, and hopefully we get something going.
Look, I'm getting called out here in the comments. Chris and Jacob saying they don't fully agree with my take on Fidalgo, but I will make the argument that look, he's not being as impactful as he was last season. I would rather take a Fidalgo that isn't scoring goals but is creating opportunities rather than a Fidalgo that's scoring 2 goals and sometimes just being lights out for a good majority of the game. And now I don't know if that's his new role because look, I don't know if if you picked this up, Christian, but we were playing without a central attacking mid in this game. We
Yeah.
had a deep line defensive mid, which was Pedro Aquino, and then you had 2 center midfielders, which was Richard Sanchez and Fidalgo. Fidalgo having a little bit more of a liberty to go forward, but still, you saw him drift a lot inside the
Yeah.
midfield. So my argument there is that I think that we're not utilizing our players correctly. Not to mention the fact that Cordova is not a winger and we still use him on the wing. But now you're using Fidalgo in a position where maybe he's not thriving as much as he used to.
Right. So listen, just for all record's sake, you know how you guys feel about Fidalgo, right? You know, I love Fidalgo, but I have to agree with Ivan here. You know, it's just for right now, Fidalgo isn't the Fidalgo that we all want him. Because listen, Ivan knows, and whatever he's saying right now, whatever, but he knows that Fidalgo can be talented. He knows Fidalgo can be the best player on this team. It's just right now he's not proving it. Whether it be just a lot of tactics or whether just sophomore, something like you said, he has to find out what it is because it's games like this where you kind of had the opportunity to make your magic, and we saw a little bit in the second half, especially in our own defensive end where he got the ball kind of spun around 2 players, giving go ahead. Like that's what we need to see but more of. Give me 80 minutes of that, and then we're talking about a completely different player. But like you said, Ivan, is it Solari tactics? Is it just him playing a different role, him in his mind thinking, okay, I didn't score a single goal last season, so my goal objective is now, okay, to see how can I put myself in a better opportunity to score instead of maybe, like you said, in a better opportunity to break lines or stuff like that, right? He wants to be the one kind of at the end of the play, not at the beginning in some cases. It's just for right now, I don't think that's working for us. But what I will say is I think we see the better of Fidalgo when Cordova is on the pitch. Even if one of them suffers, but I think that's when we see kind of the best of maybe even the both of them.
I agree with that. I agree. I think we see the best out of the both of them. I don't know if it's internal competition or I don't know if they really do truly play better off of each other, but it is an interesting kind of debate that one can have. But I don't know, AJ. Anything to add on in the whole Fidalgo debacle?
Man, I don't even know. I'm just lost for words just even after throughout this entire match.
Is it because I compared him to Carlos Reynoso that I said could he ever?
I think that's what happened.
Is that what happened? Is that what happened?
Look what Cordova, man. Look what you did. Just don't say nothing to Chucho Lopez, and we're good though. We're good. So leave my boy out of this. But I don't know. Like with Fidalgo, like what we saw in the first season though, like lots of exciting things. We're praising him this season. He's got the goals. He was doing well, but just now you're seeing a little bit of a slump in his performance. We signed him for that reason. We gave him that contract. We want to see him show up and be that player that that this is why so that he brought him to the team. He saw something when he was coaching him back over there in Real Madrid. It's gotta be for something. I have a lot of hope for the kid. He's really good. Has lots of potential for this team to be a really good player for the team. But I don't know. Just seems like Solari at times is putting midfielders in different places, and you're kind of just scratching your like, but why though? Just play him in the natural position he plays in. I don't know. Solari's got to be doing something. He knows his stuff. So I mean, yeah. Chris mentioning it's wearing out. Yeah, it's wearing out, but
it's just on his last couple of sentences before he just completely passes out here. But look, you're right, AJ, though, because you made an argument as to making a sense that and it's something that I feel like maybe we should point out. You mentioned it that within the past couple of games, past couple of seasons, these America games have strayed less from the entertainment side of things and have been more on the tactical rigged side of things, which definitely is disappealing to some like you and it rightfully so, right? Because America, the culture of America is what it's the 3Gs, right? Ganar, golear, y gustar, right? So the fact that we're just maybe hitting one or two of these things a game, that is, I think, what's frustrating most of the Americanismo. Now, I get it. Under Solari, it's different tenure. It's a different thing. It's more about the discipline, the positioning, the tactics, and not a lot of people like that, right? Not a lot of people can. Not a lot of people will be like me and say, you know what, I want to go back and look at that game and see where we went wrong, tactically speaking. Not a lot of people will do that, because as a fan, you want to see the goals. You want to be
Uh-huh.
thrilled and excited. But the fact of the matter is that under Solari's tenure, things have and maybe continuously will be a different story. But look, at the end of the day, this game is a stalemate. We all can agree, all three of us and everyone listening to this, that America should have done better, right? You give merits to Chivas for holding the defensive line as long as it did, but you also have to look and question at America and saying, why is it that with the depth, with the talent that we have, we were still unable to break this line? It wasn't like we were going up against a freaking uh, Bayern Munich defense. That's not what happened. Like, you weren't going up against the likes of like Kimmich and stuff like that. You're going up the likes of freaking Chivas defender. Like, come on, you did it in Dallas. Like, why can't you do it here? Like,
Yeah.
that's the frustrating part about it all. And I know Solari has a lot of questions to answer, and hopefully he starts doing it against Pachuca because, again, I'm not saying that his job's on the line. I don't, even
And
though
far from it.
even though I
Far from
tweeted it
it.
out. But we know how this community is. We know how the Americanismo can get, and if things don't start going right very well, a lot of heavy
If
criticism
I'm
will be
not
falling down.
mistaken, maybe someone in the chat can, or you guys can kind of let me know. But is this the first time in Solari's era that America have gone 2 games without at least a W?
I'd have to check that. I would have to check that.
Right?
I
Because
don't want
someone
to
in the
say
chat check that,
yes.
because if it is, and we're exaggerating in the sense of Solari, it kind of shows what he's done with the team. If this is his first time, 2 games in a row, and you don't have a W. I mean, obviously,
And you're
you
still
never,
sitting in
you know,
first
you never
place.
want to wish that. And we're sitting here, kind of criticize him in a sense, which he does deserve some criticism. It's not all sunshine and rainbows over there. The subs could have been done a little earlier. The lineup, obviously, can it could have been a little bit better. But now this is the time to prove, are you the man or not? Get these next 2 Ws, and I'm promise you that the Luca game and some of this Chivas game will most likely be forgotten.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Now, there's one last thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap it up here, and I'm trying to see if I can find the comment of Chris. Give me a second. There it is. He's saying, "Are we talking about Chivas needing to get those red cards?" And look, I completely agree that I think we all sit here and can say that we all were for the red cards.
On the first one.
Yeah, which was the
On the
freaking.
first one. On the second one, you gotta understand there's gonna be scuffles like that, and whether he
But the
wants.
guy does dig in his eyes, so that
Okay, listen. Maybe he wants his eyes for, I don't know, a centerpiece in his living room. I don't know. But those things happen. Those things happen. I would have justified the red card more on the first foul, because that was a dirty tackle. Whether you're a Chivas fan or not, you have to admit that was literally a dirty tackle, and it should have. The ref should have had a look at it, and the fact that he didn't just blows my mind. But in the second one, Clasico things, right?
Clasico things that happen, right? Look,
I mean,
all I'm saying is that
that's my take on
America.
it.
Look, the way I see it is we can't get into the whole refereeing thing, right?
No, of course not.
Because look, America still had an abundance of time to figure out the game. America still had a bunch of chances that they could have tried to convert. Like, for me, that's not an excuse as to why you didn't win the game. It was like, oh, Chivas didn't get 2 red cards, that's why we didn't win. Like, no, that's not merit. That's just because something didn't go your way. You still have to go out there and find the goal. Would it have helped if they were down 2 players? Yeah, of course, but it's not guaranteed. And definitely in the way we were playing, I promise you, it wasn't promised at any chance that we were going to score. So
he probably would have still been playing. We still probably would have been playing the ball back. Probably still would have been doing it, because that's how possessive we are.
The amount of times we've reset the ball was, oh my god, ridiculous. But look, alas, 0-0. America gets the draw. We secure the point while we're all frustrated and it feels like a loss. The reality of it is we continue to stay unbeaten at home. We get the clean sheet, and we continue to scale the table. We're sitting at the top. Like Christian mentioned, these next 2 games are pivotal though for the season because we know the most important thing coming into a Liga is what, gentlemen? Momentum. Come on, guys.
Oh,
Be out
I
here
thought
freaking
you were asking
falling
me.
asleep.
I was gonna say victories, but yes, momentum.
I mean, a title
Victories,
would be
momentum,
nice,
same
but
thing.
momentum, I guess.
Momentum victories, yeah, almost the same
I would
thing.
say
But
same
yes,
thing. I was gonna say victory.
momentum is important. So
Yes, of course, 100%, 100%.
But all right, we put that past us. Now we're going to look up into the future. But before we do so, I want to remind everyone that today's episode is brought to you guys by Foot Cult. And if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you guys go check out footcult.com. Use the discount code EEP at checkout to get 10% off. Again, that is discount code EEP at checkout to get 10% off all Foot Cult products. There is a beauty of a jersey that we brought out not too long ago. And hey, look out for something in the works for the near future. But all right, gentlemen.
We have that shirt.
We do, and it's a beauty. All right.
Who has this one?
I do. We all do. Well, I don't know if all the listeners do, but look, if you guys like something like that, let us know because we're more than willing to make it happen yet again. But all right, thank you again, Foucault, for sponsoring today's episode.
I bet you the Tigres fans are about to post this poll right here.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. But all right, gentlemen, looking into the future. But before we do so, Christian, like I mentioned, transfer window is officially closed in Liga MX for America. No one came in. No one looks like was ever going to come in. Mm-hmm. So what went wrong? What happened?
Well, just a couple of things. Number one, we talked about it earlier, Renato Ibarra. I think, Solari got the okay for a right winger to join the team. Renato Ibarra got a goal in the game. He came back, injured right after, right? So I guess the board at that moment kind of just laid off the plans of getting someone. But Ivan, you said there's no excuse for that, though. It happened literally in the game. They should have had the names literally on a file somewhere, ready to call them up because they had more than enough time to get this done. And it's a shame that a board like America can't satisfy the needs of the team when it's so glowingly showing that we desperately need someone on that wing. And for us not to have a true right winger on this squad right now is currently depressing and embarrassing, and it just shows to you how what the people are doing running the board. They just are very clueless right now. And people, believe it or not, though, this is the thing that kind of upsets managers too. Not just in Liga MX, but it happens all over the world. Yes, you have to cope with what you have when you get here, but Solari's already been here. He analyzed the team. He went through the whole season with them, made it to the playoffs with them. But now it's time for him to kind of add his spice. And I put all my money on the line that Solari asked for a player, and more than likely he did not get it. So to say that Solari isn't a little bit frustrated with his current squad is, you're going to be lying, because obviously he knows that he wanted that right winger. He wasn't afraid to kind of shy away from the question. Oh, hey, would you like a signing? Well, the squad is good that we have, but I would really love a right winger. Like it was so blatantly obvious, right? So
yeah.
Stuff like that is just annoying to the fan base, because that this team could have been just a little bit better, more with the right winger, and maybe we could have seen more of Solari's magic into play. So, so that's one of the reasons why, and probably the majority of the reasons why. Also, I think I'll just put it out there because I've been dying to say this since he ever came back, but everyone doubted Benedetti. I think that up to this point he's had good showings. When he's gotten the chance, I think he scored some pivotal goals. We'll remember the goal in Philadelphia to kind of give us that push into the final. I think he's also betting on Benedetti to kind of just be the player, that kind of versatile player that can just come in and play either in the mid or on the wing. But he's not a true right winger, though. Like, yes, he played under Biojo a little bit, but that's not him, though. It's not him. And if you want to see the best, it has to be kind of where Fidalgo and Cordova are trying to fight for right now. And then if obviously he's going to be third in that pecking order, right? So it's he has someone, but he really doesn't have someone. But I just wanted to point that out there that Benedetti, just wanted to shove it in everyone's faces because literally I was the only one who kind of believed in Benedetti, and thank God up to right now he's proving himself. Just need for that to continue this season. But let's talk about it though. He hasn't brought up anyone from the cantera though. Is there no one that's in the cantera that's kind of opening his eye just a little bit to even have him on the bench? I don't know
Carrera
about
was
you.
an
That's
option, but he
just a
got
little bit
injured.
more concerning to me as well because he is a manager that does like to bring up. He's not afraid to bring up players. He's not afraid to play them. It's just he hasn't even called them to the bench, right? So I don't know if the cantera slacking down there. But it's something to also ask question like why hasn't maybe he tested someone from the cantera?
I think I think you've hit the nail on the coffin there. I do think that our cantera does not have a player suffice enough that can come in and step in. Because okay, it's not to say that we don't have good players at the cantera.
We do,
I
right? We
don't
do.
think
We
I
do.
just don't think we don't have anyone at that level
Right.
because you're asking for a lot. You're asking for a kid to come in and be like
Diego
ready to
Light type,
start games. Like yes, like you
Like
need him to be like ready off the get go to go 65 minutes in Liga MX, going up against some pretty good players. Like that seems in our heads that seems easy, but it's a big leap sometimes from youth academy to professional football. Like it's sometimes a big ask, and I don't think we really have anyone there. Karel Campos looked to be the closest one, but then AJ, he got injured, and now he doesn't look like he's been, himself lately, right there. So it does beg the question: what is America doing in that department? That let's be honest, since Alfredo Tena left, it has not been the same. Our results have been poor, right? I don't. The argument was being made that there was a transitional period from one coaching style to another, right? We brought this ex Villarreal manager that was supposed to be like this great thing, and look where he's had us at. Doesn't really look like we've been in a promising position. But it's just I don't know, Christian. I think we're in big trouble here. I think the fact that your youth academy isn't producing the talents that you need them to produce. You have a board that is, well, for a lack of better word, incompetent and can't get a job or a deal done. You have a president that sometimes, doesn't know half of what he's doing with contracts. And then you have a club and institution that has let millions, and I mean millions of dollars go down the drain in player sales and in player contracts, that now we're looking and scraping at the bottom of the barrel and thinking, what can we do with our last couple of pesos? Everything is coming together, and now we're looking at ourselves and thinking, well, what are we going to do? And I think that's the most concerning thing about it because, look, I do think we'll get someone in January. I really do because let's be honest, if America wins the CONCACAF Champions League, like Solari's like, I need X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm not going into a Club World Cup with fucking Chucho Lopez.
Oh.
Chucho Lopez, Osuna, and freaking
yeah.
Madrigal. Like you're not gonna do that without a right winger either. Like let's be honest. You're trying to go up against Chelsea and try to beat them like that. Like let's be honest, that's just gonna end up in just a nightmare of a result. So I do think we'll bring in players come January, but is it gonna be too little, too late at that point? You know, it's frustrating. It is frustrating. I did, cuz I'm sorry that slipped out. It's just been frustrating having to watch this team burn itself to the ground financially. Um, but again, alas, I told you guys, don't get your hopes up, don't hold your breath. And look what happened. America didn't bring in anyone. Now the one player that I wanted to throw out there that no one's really talked about in regards to a strong link to America, but this is someone that I read not too long ago, and I've seen a couple of people on Twitter mention his name. It is the Atletico San Luis winger, Bertrame. Is that
Yeah.
him?
That's
Yes,
yeah.
Bertrame. I feel like he would be a good fit. I think I think he's showing some pretty impressive stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think? Again, this is not a strong rumor that has been going
Yeah.
around. I just seen a lot of Americanistas liking him. Who wouldn't? I mean, the guy's scoring goals for fun right now at San Luis. What's your guys' thoughts?
Solid player, solid player. I think AJ will have a little bit more, take on him. But for me, I think he's a solid player. Obviously, he'd be the only upgrade right now of what we currently have, right?
Yeah.
So and I welcome him with open arms. I think he is a solid player. He's doing good things at San Luis. And he doesn't shy away from a challenge. And any team you throw in front of him, he seems to have a good performance every single game. And we need more players like that, obviously. So if it happens, it happens. Like Ivan said, we're not saying that he is on the radar or anything like that. For a strong to come, but if he is on the list, I hope he kind of skips a couple people and maybe he gets a little bit higher because I don't think he'd be a bad addition.
Yeah, no, me neither. AJ.
Pretty good guy. 10 games played so far, 8 goals scored, and 65 games with 22 goals and 2 assists. Good name. Could play as in the right wing. Could play as a center forward too if needed. All in all, he's 22 years old, coming from Argentina. He's looking good, really, for San Luis. But at the same time, every time we see someone good on another team, they come to America. Just never happens. I like to call that the Club America effect. And then when they leave, they end up doing well again. So I don't know. I mean, he'd be good, but what money do we have though? What money?
I don't know, San Luis, and they're in pretty much of a crisis right now. I think Atletico Madrid wants to pull out from their deal with them. So I think we could work something. Two broke clubs going together. I'm sure we can. Work something out. But alas, that is that as far as updates goes. Look, I'm sure the transfer rumors are going to start again.
To answer Chris's question as well, for San Luis, he's been there since 2019. So we could try to grab him, but knowing how good he's playing right now, that value's definitely going to be going up
try
on
to
him.
oversell him. That's for sure.
Obviously, of course, that's how he's doing as well. So,
but you know what? We offer 1 Leo Suarez and 1 Chucho Lopez and 3 Gancitos. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Stop. Solari trusts in my boy Chucho Lopez. He trusts the process.
He trusts him to carry the maletas, probably. That's about it.
Chill. Damn.
All right, boys. Talking about maletas, let's go to tomorrow's matchup. America's already traveled to Pachuca, and Estadio Hidalgo will be the venue for the night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Look, this venue is always not our most favorite, and especially during the middle of the week, Christian. I've never had fond memories playing against Pachuca on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday. Coming into this one, we know that we have to flip the tortilla around because we haven't had the best of games in the past 2 matches. What needs to happen in order to get the 3 points? Because I think at this point, you need the 3 points.
Yeah, no, this is a must win. A tie will not do well for anybody on this team. America needs just to go out there, and I think you gotta risk it a little bit, honestly. I think that you have to play with determination. You have to be the protagonist. You have to go all out attack. Literally, this is FIFA. If you're tomorrow, you hit that right directional thing and you go all out attack. This is the game to do it. Pachuca is definitely by far not the easiest opponent. I understand that. I understand that they are a good, solid team, but we have to put that aside. That we have to be the first place team. We have to play like we are the number 1 team in this league. And we just have to go out there and just you have to risk it a little bit. Up to this point, I think Solari has done a good job. I think he's played it, semi-safe. But I think tomorrow you have to throw a completely curveball at everybody and just go all out there and try to, create something, do something out of the ordinary to kind of get this W.
Yeah, and look, AJ, this is maybe a little bit of a rematch for Solari of what happened in last Liga, right? Where maybe he didn't plant that good of a game against Pachuca and lost the first leg. So this could be maybe a little bit more of a motivating factor for Solari.
No doubt about it. You always want to beat the team, that essentially knocked you out of the Liga, especially as well. They came through repechaje. And we got knocked out again by a team from a repechaje. So it's been embarrassing. So he's definitely going to have to redeem himself in this match. But it's Pachuca. It's never a good time when it's away. Plus at 10:05, for us over there. And it's got to be late over there too. Jeez. on a
Nine,
Tuesday.
nine over there for them.
Even that, just on a Tuesday, man. But yeah, no, this Pachuca side. I mean, yeah, they're they're 13th, but at the same time, it just they're always gonna give us a tough. They're always gonna just give us a tough time. I mean, the good thing is they really don't have. While they do have players to look at, really know them to have their shooting boots on. The most goals that are coming from this team this season, I think, is Pocho Guzman with 2 goals. Everyone else they got a goal apiece, but it's gotta be so I was gonna need to just be careful and all like Christian say, just go all out attack because we cannot afford a tie. If we somehow manage to get a tie, then I might start worrying a little bit.
Yeah, look, I think you mentioned it, Christian, right? The tempo has to be upbeat throughout the majority of the first half. I mean, heck, majority of the second half as well. You have to be on the attacking side of things and go out there, and it's gonna be interesting, and which is why I want to lead to this next. What is your formation? What is your starting 11 for this game?
Um, it probably won't happen. It's something kind of just throwing a little curveball out there, but we'll see what happens, right? So in
He's
that,
like Chucho Lopez in goal.
Whoa, chill. Yo, not go. Whoa. I thought you were
in
making
that I have Guillermo Ochoa. The back four will be Jorge Sanchez, Bruno Valdez, Sebas Cáceres, and Luis Fuentes. In the midfield, Pedro Aquino, Richard Sanchez, Sebastián Cordova on one wing, Chava Reyes on the other, Roger Martinez, and in the middle, Federico Viñas.
Now that is a curveball because what do you do in that situation, right? You've benched Fidalgo, I think rightfully so. But do you go with a 4-3-3? Do you go with a 4-2-3-1? Do you go with a 4-4-2? That's the more interesting thing.
Yeah, 4-4-2 didn't paint well for us.
It didn't at all, and I hope we never go with it again.
He won't go with it again. I think he'll stay with the 4-3-3. Put Roger on the right. I know no one likes it. I know everyone. He doesn't play well on the right. It's kind of the only thing we have, honestly. And I don't think he'll start Benedetti in the game like this. This is probably the best I think I can come up with.
I like Viñas though. I like Viñas.
I really want to say Viñas. I really want to see Viñas. I think Viñas can provide a lot. Especially last game, honestly. I think with the gameplay they're trying to do last game, I think Viñas could have done just a little bit of a better job kind of holding the ball up. I think that was the plan because you saw a lot of long balls to Henry Martin trying to be played, and I think Viñas just does that a little bit better. Listen, Viñas is he hasn't played much, right? The other teams don't know how to really, I guess, kind of combat with the style just yet. I think he could be that little surprise that we need. And Ivan, you hit it on the head earlier. I think Chava Reyes on the left wing does more than Linus, and I think he just plays just a little bit better. It's something that I think we need. We need something. We need a little spark on the offense, and I think Reyes and Viñas can provide that against Pachuca, and hopefully some sort of variation of this lineup comes to fruition.
Yeah, look, I like Cáceres, but I know he's not starting. It's gonna most likely be Aguilera, which again worries me, but we should be fine for the most part. One last thing to add here before we continue. Cordova playing more of a Olympic gold in the Mexican Olympic formation rather than a natural cam, right? So
in a sense,
more of a floating midfielder. I think it's an interesting.
Maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs that kind of like that free roam position to kind of do him, and let's give it to him. This is the game where he needs to kind of just brush it all off and let's see what happens and maybe create that spark. Maybe this is what he needs, and I hope something like this happens tomorrow.
Interesting. I like it. AJ?
Looks solid. I'm down with this, even though would it happen? Maybe not.
Probably not. I give it a 40%.
Actually, I think a good 90% of this happens.
I could see it. Changes needed. Just some players really just didn't show up against the Chivas match. Maybe this is the match.
I don't think he'll repeat 11. That'd be kind of a little.
No, why would you repeat that? That was a god-awful 11.
I'm saying. So we're gonna see some of these players. I hope in the starting.
Yeah. Look, I think
that.
Yeah, I think Reyes plays on the left.
It could be worse. It could be the line we threw against Toluca. It could be worse.
Oh God, no. Never go back to the 4-4-2, please. We don't have the players for it. But okay, no, I like it. Good lineup. If we're basing ourselves off this, I think you're right. Off the get-go, Get the ball to Chava Reyes, get the ball to Roger, let them have an explosiveness down the wing. And Viñas, he's got to be your target man. He's got to put these chances away, and he's got to bully defenders. Like, let's be honest, he has to bully defenders. So I can see this working. I like it. It's interesting. I can go with it. I can definitely go with it. All right. So let's say we're going with this. What is your guys' prediction for tomorrow's game against Pachuca and Hidalgo? AJ.
1-0.
1-0 America. I like it. A clean sheet. I like it. I like it actually. Yeah. Go for it, Christian.
We need a good, solid showing. 2-0 America.
2-0 America. Bold. I like it. I like it. This is a man that said 4-1 America last week, all right? So let's take our expectations.
Not one of my
here.
proudest moments for sure. Listen, if we want to count my proudest moments versus those moments, I think I'm doing pretty good. So that was just, come on.
You know what, Jacob going with a 1-0 America victory. Viña scores it. I'm going with 1-0 as well. I think America, it's going to be a typical Solari game where we like make a goal by the end and we somehow survive. But I think at the end of the day, 3 points is the most important thing, right? Like, let's be honest. 3 points is detrimental. Like, we need it. Like, it's a must. And so in whatever shape or fashion it comes, 3 points are going to be extremely welcomed. So we'll go with that. And I mean, that pretty much just wraps it up. Let us know comments in that. Let's look ahead into an even further game, gentlemen. America versus Pumas in the Estadio Azteca. This game's going to be an interesting one. 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Gentlemen, another Clasico is right around the corner, and another Clasico that we host at the Estadio Azteca. Now, look, these games are always difficult because we have to look past the Pachuca game. But off the basis of what we were talking about, Christian, again, 3 points is important, but not just that. I think at this point, you need to start showcasing what you're going to be showcasing in the Liga. So you have to end before the international break on a pretty big high.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what way to do it than a Clasico, right? It's no secret that Pumas right now aren't doing their best. So this is the kind of game that you have to mentally say to yourself, okay, listen, if we get a big win against a rival, a strong rival heading into the break, we should be feeling good about our play style, feeling good, in the mental aspect of everything, and just, feeling good about the team heading into the final run of the season where we still have boatloads of opponents to play with. We still have Cruz Azul to play. We still have Tigres to play, right? These are teams that, that we're most likely going to see come Liguilla time. So America needs to kind of just prepare for this game in the best way possible, knowing that a W is the only thing that can be accepted in this kind of match.
Definitely. And look, this is interesting. Google's saying 3 p.m. My soccer app is saying 7 p.m. for this game on Saturday. Who do we trust?
Google.
I believe it's 6 p.m. my time.
Yeah. 6
Do we trust
time.
Google?
Google all the way.
Why do we trust Google, AJ?
Because Google. Plus, it's his birthday, so we want to make Google feel good about itself too. It's his 23rd birthday, so.
Really, it's their 23rd birthday on the day that America plays Pumas?
Oh no, it's currently their birthday now.
Oh well, man, I don't care about that. I care about the Clasico.
Wow. Okay.
Well, whilst I do a little bit more research on this, AJ, anything to add on in regards to what America needs to do in this game against Pumas?
It's a Clasico. We really need to win because the going is going to get tougher. When the going gets tougher, it gets tougher, especially with the matches that we got left. Yeah, no, we definitely need to win, especially it's against a Pumas side that has only won 1 game this entire season. They've drawn 5 and lost 4, and they've been having players go as well. And maybe this be the game we can do this to Pumas fans and let them be happy that we sacked them of Andres Lilini, because I think they want him gone at this point. So we beat this Clasico. We win this Clasico, we get 3 points, and we also make them happy because Lilini is gone from their team. So,
No, I agree with you. I think, whenever America gets to fire a coach, then, I'm all for it. Now, also point to Google here. It is 5 p.m. Hora local over in Mexico for this game.
Uh-huh.
So it is at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. That is an odd time. I haven't seen America play at that time at the Estadio Azteca in forever, Christian.
I love it, man.
In
I love it. Anytime
forever.
America does this, it just it brings back
It's
the old
memory
memories.
central, right? Ah,
100%. Yeah, you're gonna see just like the sun about to go
and
down.
with that
The
jersey on,
Azteca with
the
the jersey on.
nostalgia. The
Oh, beautiful, man.
nostalgia.
I can't wait. It paints for a good game just for nostalgic reasons. But I just hope to see an America win. Above anything, right? And I think we'll get it. So definitely looking forward to that game.
Yeah, and look, you know, be impossible to try to give a lineup here, but whoever does end up playing in that game, let's hope that the Pachuca game went well, and then they can go off and have kind of a run. Because, like I mentioned, the most important thing coming into this now is getting yourself on a platform for momentum, right? That's what literally catapults you into these next couple of games as a title contender. Because yes, afterwards we have to go and after the international break face off against San Luis, which is never an easy thing going to their stadium. It's not easy. Then we have to receive Santos, which, they always put up a fight. And then you have the big games. You have Tigres, then you have CONCACAF Champions League final, then you have Cruz Azul to end it off against Monterrey. Like, these games they look like, oh, we still have a couple of, weeks before all of this, but it's coming back. It's coming by thick and fast. Like, let's just be honest. The turnaround is ridiculous at this point, and you guys can thank FIFA for that. So they want to cram all these World Cup qualifiers into one freaking week. So, again, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but I'm excited. Clasico is a Clasico. I will say this, though. Avoid trying to eat aguachiles whenever America plays Pumas. Whenever I do eat them that day, we always end up tying. So, we'll definitely try to avoid that.
Yeah.
So, definitely, I'll have something else. I'll have some tacos or some
Tacos al
some
pastor.
barbacoa sounds good right now.
Barbacoa.
You know?
Okay. I can do some or una torta de tamal in the morning.
Oh, of course. That's the only way to start off a morning when America
Especially a
plays.
Sunday morning on the Clasico day. Torta de
Ooh,
tamal.
it is. It's on the third, right? So that is definitely on a Sunday. That's interesting. But alas, these two will be facing off against each other next week. Also, when America comes and plays against Pumas at Dignity Health Sports Park here in Carson, California. So these guys will be facing off against each other yet again. That should be an interesting one. We'll talk more about that next week, gentlemen. But before we wrap it all up, I want to get you guys' prediction for the Clásico Capitulino against Pumas. So, AJ, what is your scoreline for the game at the Estadio Azteca at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern? What is your prediction?
Going 2-1 America.
2-1 America. All right. I like it. I don't, because that means we can see. I don't like it. Christian, your prediction.
Nah, man, this is the game. This is the game,
oh,
baby.
God, no.
3-0 Club America on Sunday night. 3-0 Club America Sunday night.
I don't see it. I don't buy it, but I like the enthusiasm. I'm going with a 2-0. I think America can pull it off. I think we can get another clean sheet. I think we can get 2 goals. And like AJ said, 2-0 is a new 3-0. So we'll be all happy and content going into the international break, right?
I hope
A
so.
victory.
Yes.
A victory is
Please.
needed. Look, that like Christian
Please.
mentioned, victory is everything we need right now at this point. One against Pachuca and one against Pumas. And we can worry about the international break, or not worry about the international break, and focus on San Luis whenever that time comes. But all right, gentlemen, I think that pretty much does it, unless you guys have anything else to add on before we wrap it all up. AJ?
No. Then we got everything.
Hashtag free Chucho Lopez? Nothing?
Free my boy Chucho Lopez, please. If Bandetti can get freed, then so my boy Chucho Lopez. So
Well, then who's going to carry the maletas?
Benedetti could.
Mauro Suda, yeah. Man's probably, dude. When the commentator said that Aquino wasn't going to be able to go on, I was like, no.
Fidalgo's injured. Osuna está calentando. I'm like, bro, what?
Dude, I was like, turn off the TV.
I was like, bro,
I don't want to see this.
I thought they would say like Madrigal or something, bro, but they said Osuna.
Yeah, dude. When they said Osuna, I was like, nah. Nah. I was ready to call it a night at that point. I was like, hell
Should
no.
have pulled my boy Chucho Lopez in. He could play center defensive mid. It's the Swiss Army knife.
Okay,
Talking
that
about.
would've been worse.
No.
All right, gentlemen. Well, that pretty much does it. Thank you guys for coming out. As always, Christian, AJ, making the time to come and talk all things Águilas del América. We're going up against Monday Night Football, but you know what? I think people still love tuning in. To all the listeners, again, thank you so much. We'll be back next week to recap everything that happened in the Doble Jornada against Pachuca, talking about the Clásico Capitolino against Pumas, and also we'll be looking ahead to the Clásico Capitolino again in Carson, California, and we'll have updates in regards to that game, and then we'll call it a day as international football is here to grace us once more. But all right, gentlemen, thank you guys. Have a wonderful time. Stay safe out there. Please wear your mask. And as always, Arriba la América. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast